have big respect for the good people of Minnesota. Some of the best educators, actors, actresses, athletes come from there. And the case of how the death penalty was abolished in Minnesota, I studied as a teenager many years ago when I was covering media and the law at my college in Woodstock, New Brunswick. This case I provided as a public service, not to judge the perpetrator in the case or the victims, just to explain why Minnesota doesn't have death penalty on the books. Now today we're going to be talking about the curious case of one William Williams. Now William Williams, born St. Ives, Cornwall, England, in 1877, was a Cornish miner and the last person executed by the state of Minnesota in the United States. In 1905, Williams murdered John Keller and Keller's mother in St. Paul, Minnesota, and his subsequent botched execution led to increased support for the abolition of capital punishment in Minnesota in 1911. Now, Williams was born in 1877 and was an immigrant from Cornwall working as a miner in St. Paul. In 1904, while hospitalized for diphtheria, Williams befriended local teenager John Keller, who was recovering from the same disease. Over the next 2 years, they lived together in St. Paul and took 2 trips to Winnipeg. Keller's father did not approve of the relationship and told his son that he was no longer permitted to travel with Williams, and Keller returned to his parents' home in St. Paul. Now, there was some indication if this was unrequited love or an unconsummated homosexual relationship. Not for me to judge, but this is the particulars of the case. During 1905, Williams allegedly sent Keller a number of letters expressing love for him and requested that Keller join him in Winnipeg. The letters contained threats. If Keller did not comply, Williams wrote, "I want you to believe that I love you now as much as I ever did. It won't be long before we will be together. Keep your promise to me at this time, old boy, as it is your last chance. You understand what I mean and should have sense enough to keep your promise." Now, these letters, all at the insistence of Mr. and Mrs. Keller, eventually became unanswered. Williams returned to St. Paul in April 1905 and in a fit of rage shot Keller and Keller's mother in their home. Keller was killed instantly when he was shot in the back of the head while he was in bed. His mother died from a later gunshot wound a week later. Keller's father survived as he was not at home at the time of the shooting. Now, Williams was eventually arrested and tried for premeditated murder, though he pled not guilty by reason of emotional insanity. A police officer testified at court that Williams came to the station on the night of the murder, saying that he shot someone, giving the address as 1 Reed Court. The testimony of a doctor who looked at Williams was that he did not know why he shot Johnny Keller, only that he wanted the boy to come with him. When Williams took the stand, he told the court he didn't sleep for 3 nights prior to the murder and had been drinking heavily on the day of the shooting. Now, his defense was rejected, and on May 19, 1905, he was convicted of murder. Ramsey County Attorney Thomas Kane excluded the jurors because of their opinion against the death penalty, and Williams was sentenced to death by hanging. On December 8, 1905, the Minnesota Supreme Court affirmed his conviction and sentence, although one judge dissented, arguing that Williams' crime bore signs of a crime of passion and might have not been premeditated. On February 13, 1906, Williams was executed in the basement of the Ramsey County Jail in St. Paul. There were 32 witnesses present during the execution, including Daily News reporter Joseph Hennessy, who entered the jail with the crowd, despite the fact that reporters were forbidden to attend. Before the execution, Williams spoke from the gallows and insisted his innocence. "Gentlemen, you are witnessing an illegal hanging. I am accused of killing Johnny Keller. He was the best friend I ever had, and I hope I meet him in the other world. I never had improper relations with him. I resign to my fate. Goodbye." Now, the rope used to hang Williams proved to be too long, as his length had been miscalculated by Sheriff Meason. As a result, Williams hit the floor with a thud after dropping through the trap door of the gallows. 3 of Misen's deputies had to hold Williams's body up by the rope for over 14 minutes until he died of strangulation. Williams's attorney, James Cormishan, stated the execution was a disgrace to civilization. Now, Williams's botched execution was used by opponents of the death penalty in Minnesota to argue that capital punishment should be abolished in the state. Minnesota eventually abolished the death penalty in 1911 and has never been reinstated, making William Williams the last person executed by the state. Now, there's been various articles on the hanging through the year, including one by John Besler, The Botched Hanging of William Williams, and the Nick Wolfman article, This Bungle St. Paul Hanging Caused Minnesota to Abolish the Death Penalty, which was published on October 2018. Now, the Star Tribune also did an article on February 13, 1906, talking about Minnesota's last execution. Now, what a lot of people do not remember of this case, it seemed to be polarizing. Now, if it was a straight couple or alleged straight couple, would it be a crime of passion? Would the person have been executed? Probably not. It wasn't really stated if they were a platonic gay couple or a gay couple, but Williams felt a rejection enough to do what he did. Again, we provide this information as a public service to explain why certain things occurred in the execution of people in provinces and states across North America. Take it as you will. I basically believe he should not have been sent to the gallows. Life in prison would be enough. But I really don't know if there's any case similar to this in U.S. or Canadian history where the mode of execution seemed to be more disrespectful to the act than any other one I've heard. Why would you misjudge the rope? We all know that hanging rope, and my cousin was hung for murder, Joe Richard. The rope was perfectly weighted for his body. The length was perfect. You should know this before you execute somebody. This was not the Old West. This was early 1900s Minnesota. Good people in Minnesota were running the courts. So someone really messed up mentally or math-wise anyway. So that's the case that really sums up why I don't think hanging should be used for any types of executions, because it's too dangerous. It can be easily messed up. For example, the Benny Swim case. Check it in our archives. Thanks for listening. Bye.